Are you struggling with fatigue, feeling slow, or constantly battling running injuries during triathlon training? The research shows us that over 50% of endurance athletes struggle with injuries each year, and poor running form can be a major culprit. So in this video, I'm going to break down 6 triathlon-specific running tips that will help you to prevent injuries in training and make sure that you've got perfect running form. So tip number 1, let's start with good posture. So this is something that a lot of runners and triathletes tend to overlook. So it's normal to think that good running form is all about your legs. Obviously that's really important, but good posture and good running form actually starts from the top down. So to help with this, you want to imagine a straight line running from your head all the way down to your feet. And you want to make sure that you're gazing forward and you're keeping your head and your shoulders properly aligned. You want to avoid rounding your shoulders too much, and you want to avoid looking down. You want to have a nice focus about 20 meters out in front of you. So a really common mistake that a lot of runners and triathletes make, especially during longer runs when fatigue starts to set in, is that they tense their shoulders and start to round up. This can lead to an ineffective arm swing, and it also can waste lots of valuable energy. So a really simple tip to help with this is just periodically shake your arms and hands out every minute or so, especially during those tough runs. It can really help to make you feel less tense and make sure that you're not wasting valuable energy. So tip number 2, and this is something that's really important, is making sure that you're not overstriding. So many triathletes and runners, when you're trying to push yourself to run further and faster, you want to try and reach out as far as you can and try and cover as much ground as possible. So while you might think that if you take bigger steps, it will help you to go further and faster, this definitely isn't the case. When you end up overstriding, this creates larger braking forces. So this not only slows you down, but it increases the stress and load through the muscles and joints. So you can actually increase your risk of picking up injuries. To help with this, you want to try and make sure that your foot is landing beneath your body. So rather than reaching out and taking long steps, you want to shorten down and make sure that your feet are landing directly under your body. Tip number 3, and this is actually linked with tip number 2, and that's preventing a really prominent heel strike. So if you do end up overstriding, it's very likely that you're going to be landing very heavily on your heel. So a heel strike isn't something that needs to be demonized too much, because lots of runners and triathletes do have a natural heel strike. But if it's because you're overstriding, again, this is going to lead to inefficiency and increased risk of injury. So what we need to do is make sure that you're landing without your foot too far in front and without your ankle coming into a dorsiflex position. So tip number 4, and this can actually really help to reduce overstriding and improve your foot strike, is making sure that you've got a good cadence. So cadence refers to how many steps that you take per minute. For most triathletes, you want to be aiming for around about 170 to 180 steps per minute. So this is a good rule of thumb to be aiming for. You don't have to be exact on this, but what I would say, if you find yourself overstriding and you're landing excessively on your heel, making an effort to gradually build up your cadence can be a really smart move. But I do want to exercise some caution with this. The last thing that you want to do is make really big changes in one go. Small tweaks and improvements over time is much better. But what I would recommend, if you do have a cadence which is significantly below 170 steps per minute, you do gradually build that up, because it will encourage you to reduce overstriding, because you're going to be taking more steps closer to your body and improve your overall efficiency in your running form and reduce your risk of picking up injuries, and it will likely help you to run further and faster. So tip number 5 is all about lifting your feet higher off the floor to make sure you have a more effective push-off. This is something that I used to really struggle with when I was just getting into running. So it's really common to see runners and triathletes not picking their feet up off the floor enough and scraping them too close to the ground. This leads to an ineffective push-off and not generating enough power or force to help propel you forward. So a little tip to help with this is to imagine that you're running through a field of thick grass. What that will promote is that you lift your feet up higher, you engage the muscles that are going to be in charge of promoting a more clean and powerful stride, and that will really help to improve your overall running efficiency and ultimately help you to go further and faster. Tip number 6 is all about building the muscles you need to run stronger. So many triathletes end up skipping their strength and conditioning sessions, and I completely appreciate it can be hard to try and fit everything in, trying to manage a busy work, family and social life, nail your swim, bike and run sessions, and then try and find the time to do strength and conditioning work as well. But if you aren't working hard to strengthen up the muscles that need it the most, then ultimately you're going to be running slower and at risk of picking up more injuries. So by implementing a solid strength and conditioning program into your existing training, it can pay off huge dividend. It can help you to go further and faster and ultimately help to reduce those niggly injuries that might be slowing you down. It's vital that you're focusing on the muscle groups that take the highest peak forces during running. So your quads, hamstrings, glutes, and the calf complex is particularly important as well. And this is actually somewhere that so many triathletes neglect. So if you do need help with this, click the link in the description, join our Resilient Triathlete workshop. So I really hope you found this video helpful. If you have, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And then I'd also really recommend checking out this video George has made, where he breaks down exactly how to nail your swim technique so you can move faster in the water while also preventing your risk of picking up injuries.